Okay, students, welcome to iPad training day 3. For today's training, we're going to be looking at two different things. First, we're going to do the Blended Schools Quick Start. In other words, how we can make it very quick and easy to get in with a saved password using a home screen button. And second, using Notability, which is one of the top apps that you will be using this year. We'll talk a little bit about how you can open in Notability, some basic strategies for using it, sharing out, organization, everything you could really want. So let's start here with our little bit of a setup item for today, which is setting up a home screen button for Blended Schools. The first thing we're going to do is actually set up so that your password will be saved. This will make it so that everything works right in Blended Schools for you later on. So please start by clicking on the Settings app, and then over on the left here we have Safari. If you scroll on, you can see it's Past Mail, Contacts, and Calendars. So if you click on Safari, and then over here one of these says Passwords and Autofill. If you scoot down, wonderful circle there, don't make fun of me. Okay, if you click on that Passwords and Autofill, it will take you to this menu right here, which is going to give you a listing of different things. So are you going to use your contact info or my info? Don't worry about that right now. We're also going to leave the credit card part blank, but what we want to focus on is this names and passwords. We want to make sure that it does save your passwords for you, so make sure that green part of the box is actually on and not off. What you can actually do from this exact same menu too, once you do have some saved passwords, is come in here, and if you were to click on this icon, and you can see there's a little arrow there telling you can click on more, it will show you every single saved password that you have, which is something that may be of interest to you. So now that you've done that, we're going to take the next step here, and teachers, by the way, you may want to give the students a second or two here to get that set up. The next thing you're going to do is go to Blended Schools. So what you can do for this, a quick easy way, is just to search Blended Schools on Google, on the internet. But essentially what we need to do is just get to the home page, which is Blended Schools, and there's the Blackboard login. So it's actually blendedschools.blackboard.com. However we get here, it doesn't matter, just make sure we get here. That's the most important thing. Now, what I would suggest you do is you're then going to click on the login screen up in the top right. That's what I like to do. It's your call how you would like to organize this. From here, you're going to then type in your username and password in these appropriate boxes. Yours would be US21, US20, US22, something along those lines, dot, last initial first name, and if you have any numbers there, you would add the numbers. It's basically that US20 or 21 period followed by your username. Same password as you would use for the computer login as well. Now, one thing that's really cool, given that we did that Safari autosave setup in the beginning, what will happen now, prior to this, there we go, what will happen now once you hit enter is it will ask you if you want to save this password. The answer is definitely yes, you do want to save this password to save you time. It'll make it super fast and easy to get into Blended Schools. So please push on Save Password. Then from here, once you've done that, you can then come up to the top and we can now create a home screen button. So just so you know, up to this point in time, all that we've done is we have made it so that Safari is automatically going to load your username and password anytime you go to Blended Schools. That's a victory. Now let's make it even quicker. Up in the top here we have this icon that's a box with an arrow pointing out of it. In case you have not picked up on it yet, this box symbolizes exporting or sending this somewhere else. So what we want to do is send this web page or this web link somewhere else. What you can do, if we click on that, is it gives you a variety of things. It gives you some apps. You wouldn't have the social media apps, but at the bottom here, one of them says Add to Home Screen. So what we're going to do is push plus there, and now what you see is we have this nice little icon that looks like an app, and what it actually is just your Blended Schools login. And the thing that's awesome is when you click on it, it's going to take you right to this screen. You're going to have your username and password saved. All that you have to do is push login. So instead of having to take all this time to get into Blended Schools, now you're basically there with 2 pushes of the button. You're already logged in and you're good to go. So that's our quick setup here on Blended Schools. Let's move now into Notability. So with Notability, this is one of the best apps that we have, and we're going to talk through quite a bit about what it can do, and then also giving you a chance to actually test things out. And I'll do a little demo as well in case you're interested. If you don't need the demo, then you can just work on your own. Let's start with Notability and what it is. So what is Notability? Well, Notability is a way that we can modify and write on top of PDFs or any type of note guide that you may have. The thing that's awesome about Notability is it allows you to do a lot of different things. It allows you to type, mark it up with multiple different colors, highlight. You can even add in pictures and also voice recordings and access the internet directly through this app. It is kind of like an all-in-one. It does everything. It is pretty awesome. So Notability, it's an app you're going to want to get used to. The other thing that makes Notability pretty awesome is that it actually can serve as your binder for all of your subject areas in one location. And we'll show you how to do that. That's an old version up there. I'm going to show you the newer version and how we're going to coordinate all of this this year, which is pretty awesome, and it's very efficient. Something else that's great about Notability that I'm sure many of you will like is that it syncs to Google Drive, which means that you're not going to lose everything if your iPad breaks, or if you lose it, or if you don't have your iPad with you at that given time. You actually could access all of your notes anywhere that you have the internet, because it will back up to Google Drive, and that is something that we will set up within the next 2 days, so stay patient for that. Now, what we would like you to be able to do with this, and I don't want you touching anybody else's iPad, but I do want you to work on your own here with this. Here are the things that we want you to be able to do, and I'm actually going to go through all of these with a quick tutorial after this. You may be able to do some of these on your own, but here's what I want you to think about at this time. In your email, you are going to have a PDF of this checklist. Open it up in Notability, and then as you go through and you complete the various items, just check them off as you go. And that's something that you can do in Notability. It's easy practice as well. So we'll talk about all of these throughout the course of this next little section here, but keep in mind, Notability is one you want to get familiar with, so don't slouch here, don't act like it doesn't matter. Definitely stick to it and do your best here with Notability, and don't be afraid to ask questions, and most importantly, don't be afraid to push buttons, because really there's not much you can do to break this as long as you don't slam your iPad off the floor. So that's that here, and I'll go through a quick demo of all of these different things. Okay, so what we're looking at right now is a front page that you could have here in Notability if you have used it some. I'm going to talk to you about the setup here that you want to accomplish, and I'm going to also try to stick to the order in which some of these things have appeared in your checklist. So the first thing that we want to do is create dividers. So when we look at the organizational structure that we have over here on the left, I have a couple different columns here. I'm going to show you how we can create new areas on the left and what they really should be. So let's go back here, and I'm going to click on the plus sign, and it gives me two options: create a subject or create a divider. Now this is actually backwards from your thinking here, so it's going to take you to really be a little bit logical outside the box here, I guess, if that makes any sense. We're going to click on Create Divider. Once we click on Create Divider, it's going to give us a new little down arrow that we have here. So I'm going to call this one Social Studies. And now we have, oops, I already created one that was called that. We'll just call it Social Studies 1. So now I have one that's called Social Studies. So there's a course that I have here, and now if I click on that, I should theoretically see anything that's filled within that area. What I'm going to do now here is create a new subject. So let's say that the first unit that we're talking about here is World War I. So I can say World War I is my subject within Social Studies. So there we go. Now let's say that I was trying to organize some of my materials and I was behind on this. I can actually just click and drag and drop them right in there, which is pretty awesome. So again, if you just tap and hold, and by the way, it's important you actually hold on the icon itself, not the text. Drag it over, drop it in. There we go. Now it's in that class. So something pretty cool that you can do right there. Something else just for you to notice: if you go to Edit over on the left, you can come in and you can move any of these around. So let's say you have a whole chapter in the wrong location. If you hold on the right 3 lines that we have right here, you can move it into a different subject area. So now Chapter 3 is a part of Social Studies, or it's back in Math. So a lot of different things you can do there that are interesting and easy to play with. But nonetheless, in terms of practical learning for what you're really trying to accomplish, what I just showed you to do were the first two: creating dividers and creating unit folders that go within those different areas. You may want to take a break to set those up, or you can just do it on your own afterwards. Now, opening a PDF file from your email into Notability is something that's very easy. I'm not going to show it to you right now, but if you tap and hold on any of the attachments that you get in your email, or if you just tap it open once, you'll see an icon that says Open in the corner. From there, tap on Open In, and then choose the app that you would like to add in. That's something that we can include on a later training if needed. Now, let's say that you have oops, I'm going to click on my iPad here. Let's say that you have some sort of a graphic organizer or a PDF that you've already opened. What's it going to look like here? Well, I want to show you this really quickly and what you can use with it. So going in order here, so we can type some lines, and let's do this. I'm going to tap and hold on the T up here. So if I tap on it and then I push somewhere else, it now gives me a text box. So I can say, great work. And now if I grab the corner of that, I can actually move it anywhere that I would like. Now you might be saying, okay, well, how are you going to change the text and things along those lines? Well, if you look at the bottom here, and I'm going to highlight a couple different areas, right in this little box here, this horizontal toolbar, you can change the size of it, you can change it to bold, underline, italic if you would like, and you can also change the font color. So there's a lot that you can do right there, even going in and changing that as well. There we go. I'm a big fan of Baskerville. So let's put that right there. So there we go. That's something simple that you can do to coordinate and use the typing feature that you have. Let's say that you're more of a handwriter, and really there's a lot of research that supports handwriting is really one of the best ways that you can take notes for quite a few reasons. So let's say that's what you would like to do. There are a couple different things you can do. Now, as I tapped up here, I can make this a lot of different colors, right? I can change it, I can make it navy blue, and I can also make it so that the pen is enormous. That's not very realistic. I'm going to undo. So let's make it a little bit thinner. Let's choose that one right there. There we go. So I can write in there. Now the one thing you're saying is, okay, recession. That's pretty hard for me to write very effectively in that range. So how am I going to make this a little bit smoother? If you look in the bottom right hand corner, you have a magnifying glass. If you click on it and you see how this box is moving around, it takes just a couple minutes to try it out. So if you're confused right now, just try it for a little bit, then I guarantee you'll get it. It's not too hard. But what you can do, wherever that box is on your screen, that is what is zoomed in this box below. So this box below is actually where you're going to write. So I could say lack of, and I'm totally making up an answer, so I know this isn't right. Lack of an army led to problems. And notice as I hit the blue, it just automatically moves over for me, which is a pretty cool feature as well. So you can see that the writing there, it made it a lot easier for me to type or to write in there and do some other things with that. So the next thing to show you here is the eraser. I'll just show you that really quickly. If you don't like something that you have written, I'm going to close out on that magnifying glass. I'm going to get my eraser. It's a pretty good eraser, as you can tell. Look at how quickly it's deleting everything. So it's kind of a smart eraser as you go through it. Another feature that you have here is the scissors. Let's say I want to do something with this. So I put my scissors around it. I actually can shrink the work that I have here, spin it around, put it wherever I would like, tap out, and now it moved for me as well. So there's something else that we can do in this process. The scissors are another great way to be able to coordinate and move around some things. And finally, let's say you want to add in some other things like pictures. If I click on the plus sign, I can either take a photo, and for those of you wondering when you might do that, think science lab. That would be pretty awesome, wouldn't it? If you could actually take a picture of your lab in the middle of it. Or if you could take a picture of the project you're working on in class. Or a picture of something else, maybe a map or whatever that you may be doing. So you can take a photo, or you can just use a photo that you have saved in your camera roll, something from the internet. You can use that as well. The bottom three, figures I haven't got into quite as much, but if you need to design something, you can definitely use a figure. Web clip would be a web page. You probably won't use that at all. And sticky is a sticky note. I don't use those at all. I don't see the value in those, but maybe you will. So those are some other things you can add in there that we have available to us. And if you take a photo, I'll just take a photo of my counter right here. A wonderful photo. You can see that the photo goes in there. You can shrink it to a certain size, move it around. You can even edit it if you would like, which would make it so that you could crop out parts of the photo too. So that's how you can add in a photo and do some monitor editing there. And then the last thing is adding in voice recordings. This is kind of a neat little feature you could add in. If you wanted to take notes of something that you were doing in class and you really wanted to make sure you remembered it, you could come up here and click on the microphone. So as you're taking the notes right now, you could say lack of resources, and what it's actually doing is recording what I'm saying, and it's even recording it in sync with what I'm writing here. I don't know if you'll use this, but you might. So if we push on that to stop, what you can do is we can click on the down arrow next to it and then push play, and I'm going to move this up here, and you can hear my wonderful voice in the background there. So you get the point. Something else you can do. Okay, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of things that you can do with the Notability. The basics, though, know how to write, know how to keep things organized in here within the initial setting, and finally, the last one is know how to send it and share it. We're going to talk about sharing to Shobi later on, but just let's say you wanted to email this to a friend. What you can do is if you click on that export button again, the same one we talked about earlier today, you can choose your format. So it can be a PDF, an RTF, or a note. So what we're going to do is use a PDF. PDF will be the most commonly used version. The only difference between a PDF and a note is that if you send a note, it actually will maintain some of the other features in here, such as the voice messages that are recorded in there. When you turn in your work to teachers, that you're always going to want to turn in a PDF. So from here, all you have to do is push email notes, and then voila, it pops up. It's going to email this file as a PDF to whoever you would like to, and we'll also show you later on how to add this into a different app, which would be through the share at the bottom. Again, we'd share it as a PDF, and you can see that I have Shobi right there. So stay tuned for that tomorrow during the next training. So that's how to use Notability, all the different little features that you have there, and hopefully that helps. And that is definitely an app though that you are going to want to be familiar with and you're going to use on a daily basis.